All right, we should be recording now. Hi and welcome. My name is Carla Patton. I'm an instructional designer with EKU's Instructional Design Center. Right now, I primarily serve, oh, we have another friend coming. Right now, I primarily serve School of Business courses. So I work on MBA courses, Bachelor of Business Admin courses, and I've also taught for as an adjunct and as an instructor of record a few times. So I'm really excited today to run through a tool that all staff and faculty and students at AKU have access to currently. It's Adobe Express. It's a tool that I use very extensively in the development of courses, but I also have used it in the delivery of courses too. It's primarily focused on creating visuals that we can share in our courses, but it has more capabilities to the point where you can create customized websites that you can share in your courses. You can take it just about as far as you want to. Let's see. Susan, I don't think I've had a chance to meet you before. Would you care to tell me a little bit about what you want to get out of this session and how you plan to use it?
Thank you. So by the way, they're doing construction behind me. So if you hear pam, 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 I'm going to try and stay muted. So I'm an occupational therapy, occupational science faculty. And, your last thing you were talking about was using it for website design. And I'm looking to be more confident, to be honest, with with the Blackboard tools. And that's kind of the big thing. I saw this and I thought, I really like to know a little bit more about it. I teach freshmen orientation, some junior, senior occupational science courses, some graduate courses, and some post-professional courses. Okay. So I teach at eCampus and I teach on campus.
This should be applicable across the board. I use it, so I'm an instructional designer, I've adjuncted, and I'm also a graduate student at EKU, and I've used it in all those roles. So I kind of run the gambit, and it really is one of my favorites. A good comparison that I make is several of my colleagues use Canva, and I know that students use Canva as well. We have access to all of the tools that are available in Adobe Express through our staff and faculty accounts. And for Canva, you only have access to so many of their assets. You can only use so many of their pictures. You have to pay extra for some text. You have to pay extra for different customizations. With this tool, we have full access using our faculty accounts and our staff accounts. Your students also have full access too. So I'm always for a less expensive option, but honestly, I prefer the interface for Adobe Express over Canva. And one of my most frustrating things is they'll show you these beautiful samples that have these really pretty images, and then you get into it and it's a premium feature. So I'm always excited to share something that will help people enhance their courses and enhance their learning for their students. That is at no additional cost. That's one of my favorite things to do. So let me start a screen share. All right, and if you notice at any point that I'm toggling between screens and you're not able to see, just unmute yourselves and let me know if you wouldn't mind. It's a little more difficult to monitor chat the way that my screen's set up. All right, so when to log in, you'll Google Adobe Express. It'll take you to the login page and you will select sign in instead of sign up. It is not the most intuitive as far as how you get in. There's a step that right here where it will allow you to log in with a school account or to use a different login option. You have to log in using Google. You don't log in using a school account.
I wanted to ask this. It's going to sound really stupid, but I thought there was something like we didn't have access to Adobe. Wasn't there a message like a semester ago? But is that all resolved? So sorry,
there was, no, you're fine. There was a tool that we had more limited access to. We still have limited access to one or two of the tools, but this is a web app that we do have access to. We contacted, I forget which rep we contacted. We do have full access to this because I did check before we ran this session. But there's a couple of things that you have to have an additional license for, and this is not one of those things. This is one of the web-based apps that we have full access to. So when you're logging in, you do have to log in with Google. I use my browser a little bit differently. I use Chrome for everything for work. So I use my staff and faculty account in Chrome, and I use Firefox or a different profile in Chrome to log in personally. If you ask your students to use this and they complain, they're probably trying to log in with the school account that's set up a little bit differently. So after you log in with Google, it'll take you to the main page. There are a lot of options on this main page and it can get a little bit overwhelming. But the main functionalities that we can use this tool for are to create customized images. We can create what they call a slideshow. You can use it to create a slideshow, which you just make a background for your PowerPoint presentations. I've done that. It's beautiful. If you use a presentation, that makes a web-based presentation that allows you to create audio from, or to record audio from the presentation itself. If you'll notice, I just selected, Susan, do you have a question?
Yeah, sorry. I actually tried to log in and I keep getting a promotional page. By chance, because you did say we use our Google.
You use your faculty Google account. Are you logged in?
Yeah. So click on Google and then it goes to our faculty. I was just going to say, do you mind sharing the sign-in page? And then, so if you don't mind, I would love to follow along as you do this. And if it doesn't interrupt your teaching style, I am very kinesthetic, and
Understood.
so if you don't mind.
Understood. Let me jump back into the chat.
Cassie is sharper than I am, so.
I think that it's.
I don't know about that, Susan. I'm here learning too.
So the login page is express.adobe.com. And then there should be a login option over on the right-hand side of the screen.
You said sign in, not sign up, right?
Correct.
Continue with Google.
Mm-hmm.
My account, and now it looks as pretty as yours.
It's possible that it's possible that it was logging you in with a personal Google account. I've done that probably 10 times in the last month because I pushed the wrong button. Logging in is the most unintuitive part, in my opinion. So just to get us all back on the same page, from that main screen, you'll select presentation. You can start from scratch, or you can use one of their templates. I like to start from scratch just to see what a student's going to see. So let's do for title sample presentation. And one of the nicest things about this is you'll see that there's just text that's pre-populated. So title was here. All you do is select that text and add a subtitle. And you can change whatever you want to in here. You have a plus button down here. You can add a photograph. This is one of my favorite parts of Express. You get almost full access to Adobe stock images that you don't have to pay to use. So, and one of the nice things too is that when you create a presentation, and this is going to be web-based, you'll get a link at the end of it that you're able to share with others. It will attribute the photos appropriately so that you do not have to go through and create individual citations for the photographs as well. So this is something that I really like using, especially with students, because it reduces some of their confusion about what they're able to do and how they're able to use it. So I made my background puppies because it's cute. So let's make this a dog daycare business plan. It says to scroll to start writing your story. You'll see a plus sign right here. that is an option to add additional contents. It's pretty small, but it's in the center. You can add a photograph, text, a button, a video, a photo grid, a slideshow, or a split layout. So this tool would be very helpful if you are creating like a customized web page to share with your course. What I did here was a split image or a split layout. And that's not a dog, that's a fennec fox. So I can scroll through here and I can pick my dog pictures. Actually use my mouse. It's being slow. Maybe we'll have cat stuff. Interesting. Let's do a grumpy cat. I like that. Here in our split layout, we can then add text. We can edit the photo here, such as adding alt text, which is important for accessibility purposes. That's under the little gear that's underneath the image of the cat. You can add a focal point, which will shift the way the image is displayed. You'll see here in this portrait box that the cat is scooting around based on where I add the focal point. Because this is a larger image and a smaller display, that allows us to move it around so that it can be displayed the way that we want. Then if we want to add video, we can come down here. This will allow us to embed a YouTube video. We can upload contents from our computers, say if you wanted to include a brief lecture here. I would always recommend going to a third-party hosting site though, because it's easier to add captions there instead of uploading a raw video here. We can also add a button. That button can go to anything you want. So here we would probably say that they could go to a sample business plan by using that text, and we'll use eku.edu just as our sample. And this allows us to determine the alignment of our button. It can be centered, it can be on the left. And this is how it shows up. So here in just 2 minutes, we have 3 complete sections of our website.
Now, and I apologize, I joined
Go
late.
ahead.
Are you recording this?
I am
Or-
recording this.
Excellent. Never mind. Thank you so
You're
much.
fine. All right. Is there another section you'd want to explore before I show you how we would share this with someone?
What is a glide show?
That's something I haven't used yet, so let's figure that out. Let's see. Replace, move backward, move forward. Wonder what happens. Okay, so it looks like we're adding multiple pictures. My assumption is that Glide Show is going to automatically scroll through the images on the page. We do know what they say about assumptions though, so let's test it out. It looks like these toggle buttons will allow you to move where they're going to be in order. So let's hit save and see what happens. Oh, that's different. It allows you, as you scroll, to see different images. That's really pretty. And it looks like you can also add text here. So if you wanted to add text, forgive me, dog humans, I think that that's a golden retriever. It looks like a golden retriever. Maybe we would want to call it a golden doodle, because I know that's not right. Then it looks like that text will go directly over the image. That's really very pretty. Now I want to use that in one of my classes. I like that. Okay, so now, and is there anything else we want to explore before we share? Okay. We would then come over here to the share. Oh, let's see. We would select share. I think I just bumped somebody's ask to unmute, and I apologize for that. Publish and share link. We can edit the title of the website. This is going to show us the thumbnail of the website as well, the pink image here that we used as our header. We can pick a category, but that's more, we'll call it education. There are also, if you'll notice here, photo credits that are added, which is just lovely. Then you create a link. And that's going to give you a shareable link. You can copy it here. And just so that you guys can see what it looks like from a student standpoint, let me drop that link into the chat so that you guys can interact with it as you'd like. And I will also open the link myself, just to see what somebody would see if they were scrolling through. And it's lovely. It looks professional. It was super fast to put together, relatively easy, includes the credits. And if you were adding this into a Blackboard site, say you wanted to, let me jump into my sample site. Say you wanted to link to it. It would be very, very easy to do that. Let's see. Here's my sample site. Actually, let's do a different type of item. So under build contents, I would then add a web link, paste this. Oops, that's the name. Sorry. Used to running on two monitors, and that's not what I have right now. Call it a sample business plan. Select submit. And all a student would do, log into the course, click sample business plan, and would be able to see this. This is just, especially if you're sharing written contents or even visual contents, this is a much more dynamic way to present it. It also will allow you to have those contents optimized more for mobile. So let's check what this website will look like on a cell phone. Oops, I just stopped the screen share. That's what I get for having just one monitor open. Hold on. Let me move the controls out of the way. Thank you for bearing with me while I do that. There we go. Now they're at the bottom of the page. All right, this toggle button shows what it would look like if it's on a small screen. So if we pretend like this is a cell phone screen, you can see that this image was moved to the top of the text. In a desktop or on a laptop, it's side by side. So that is more mobile friendly. We have the button here that we're able to interact with. And when we're scrolling through our images, you'll notice that they're realigned and it's also prettier. So this is also a very nice way to share something that's mobile friendly. Okay, now, any questions about that feature?
Where did you find that in, again, the how to see what it looks like on a cell phone?
Sure, I'll show that one more time. So I'm in Google Chrome.
Okay.
Under, let's see, more tools, you'll see an option called developer tools. It's going to bring up the code, which is overwhelming. That's okay. You're going to have an option towards the top of that menu that says toggle device toolbar. I love doing this, especially to preview my course contents to make sure that they're visually going to look the right way if a student tries to access them on their cell phone.
Okay, thank you.
And
you can do that. You do that in Chrome. You don't have to do it in Blackboard or Express. Okay.
And
thank you.
If I'm in Blackboard and I'm in student view, to get to see exactly what my students are going to see, I turn edit mode off so that if I interact with something, it's not going to give me options to change it. I would come here, I would go back to more tools, developer tools, and that's going to show me what they're going to see when I toggle to a web view. It's something that I like to look at, just to make sure, because I know my students are going to check the course on their phone. I check my courses on my phone all the time. And sometimes things display very differently on a desktop or a laptop than they will mobile. You can also change what kind of phone you want to see or what kind of mobile device you want to see, based on if you want to get real deep into it, based on the tool. So if you do an iPad mini, that's going to be a bit larger screen because it's a tablet instead of a phone. So there are a bunch of preset options that you can use. And you can also check it on a Nest, which is interesting because I've never used that before. So this is one of my favorite things to do outside of using Adobe Express when I'm checking my course, is to run through it in a mobile view.
That's nice. That's a nice feature.
I really like that feature. Okay, so moving on, man, that dog's cute. Sorry. Let's see. Going back, so navigation within the tool itself is pretty easy. You'll see that I just clicked this little like interlocking swirl. That's always going to bring you back to the home page. You have, again, a bunch of different options. These like flyer, poster, all of these are image-based tools. You can create an infographic. People will do visual resumes, worksheets. But one thing I wanted to point out before we moved on to another sample is how I like to keep my projects organized. So this is our homepage. This is going to show us kind of a quick overview. You can see the recent projects that you've worked on down here, but I wind up creating a lot of projects using this tool, and I'm working on a lot of classes. To keep them organized, you actually can create a file structure, which is something that I do recommend if you're teaching multiple courses or if you're using it for many different projects. It's pretty easy to do that. There's a folder option over here on the right-hand side of your menu that will allow you to create a folder very quickly. So let's call this our test folder. It shows up down here right at the bottom. And then to move the project that we just created into the test folder, you'll mouse over the project itself. You'll see that it turns gray, gives you an option to edit the project, or there's the 3 dots in a circle at the top. You can choose to share it, duplicate the project, which is one of my favorites if I'm making multiple tools, move the project, which is what we're going to do, rename it, delete it, or unpublish it. So if you published it and you realize that there's a big problem with it and you don't want students to be able to access it, that's one of my favorite options, especially while I'm making those last minute edits, because I always find things that I did wrong as soon as I hit publish. That's just how my brain works. But we will then move this project into our test folder to keep everything organized very well. You'll see I have a bunch of messy projects down here that I probably need to go through and delete.
Can we copy your sample into our folder?
If I make you an editor, probably.
Oh, okay.
And I can show you how you can add someone.
Mhm.
So if I invite an individual, that will
Mhm.
give them edit access.
Okay.
So Susan, can I test this with you?
Yeah. You want to put my email in here?
Well, I can actually look you up.
Well, there you go, man. I'm Susan. You got it. Susan Skis. Sorry about that.
Can you spell that for me, please?
Yeah, SKEESHER. There you are. There I am. There's me.
All right.
Thank
And
you.
Cassie, can I do the same for you?
Sure.
Is that the right email address?
Yes.
This feature is actually very nice because if I have students that I'm telling to do a group project together, it's easy for them to find one another.
Yeah.
A limitation of having students do projects using this tool is that the individual that created the project is the individual that has to publish the project. So if you have people doing group work and you tell them, okay, you're in groups of 5, you're going to make a website, one person is going to create and share, and you have to submit it by this date, they will not, anybody else in the group that isn't the owner can't publish the project. So that's just something to keep in mind if you're thinking about using this for group work. We found that out the hard way because I tested it and I didn't realize that was one of the limitations.
Can they share it with each other? Like if a group group of 5 students has it. There's one person that's creating it. Can they share it with each other or?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see. You all should, I think, be able to make a copy of it or to duplicate it because you are added as editors. But I haven't tested that feature yet. So if you all want to try, you're welcome to.
Do we have to be in Express or do we receive a notification or?
You should receive an email. If you don't receive an email to access it directly from this page, you log into Express, go to navigate to projects, and then projects that are shared with you.
Shared with me. Okay, gotcha.
Mhm.
Oops, so far you haven't been invited to a project yet. I wonder if it's a slow mover.
It could be slow.
Oh, there it is. Yep.
I got it,
just came through.
accept.
Oh, good.
Yay, it was in the message. Oh, it's so cute. Okay, now on the little 3 buttons, let me see if I duplicate it.
Mhm.
Abracadabra. Boy, I got to tell you, this one really has, so it won't let us move it. It stays within the,
You should be
that.
able to duplicate it and then move your copy though.
Oh, really? Okay, so I'm going to do a duplicate. I love the funny captions. Like I opened a folder and it said, your folder's lonely.
Yeah, it is fun. That's a nice.
Let's see. So I made a duplicate that's not appearing, but it is appearing on mine.
Yes.
Ah, thank
And
you
then
so
you
much.
can move it around and do whatever you want with it.
Okay, all righty. Thank you.
Sure. One thing I wanted us to run through, in addition to the website portion of it, is creating just flat images. In Blackboard, something that I do very frequently in my courses is I create banners, and frequently the faculty that I'm working with also want other visual elements added to their courses. I'll show you a good example. This is a course that I developed with one of my accounting professors for the fall, and she has told me she won't mind if I show people this one. This is the custom banner that we created together for this course. It was super easy. It was a super fast process. And another thing that we did is we created icons for each of the modules. This is how we have our 8-week courses broken up into eight modules. This is just kind of a visual roadmap for students to use because it's prettier to see that image that has the same color that we used for the banner. It gives some cohesion to, or some cohesiveness to our visual design. It makes it feel a little bit more welcoming for the students. We also created icons for specific assignment types so that if students are scrolling through quickly, they'll know this is my task list, checklist, materials that I'm supposed to review, discussion that I'm supposed to review. So you can really use the Express tool to create a lot of visual design elements that you can include in your courses. The course banner I personally see as your welcome mat to students. It sets the feel of the course. A course without a banner looks a lot more bare. So here is this course with this pretty banner that Abby and I made. In my test course, I don't have a banner. And visually, I feel like it doesn't look as good. So you come in here, you see the announcements, and that's it. It's just gray. It doesn't feel like someone prepared it for me. Well, obviously nobody prepared this one because it's just where I put stuff to test, but it just doesn't look as good. The other reason that we care about banners is you'll see here like a beautiful scenic mountain. Students, when they're looking at courses, can either see them as a list or they can see them as tiles. When you have a course that's set up with tiles, you can tell which courses have banners added and which courses don't. Because if they do not have a banner, it will default to these stock images. So you'll see that this development shell here has the same banner as this course. So it allows us to differentiate our courses. For me, it's a little bit of branding that we throw into our classes that lets the student know that we actually put a significant, it visually signals to them how much effort we put into the course. You'll see here in these fall courses that I have, this is the banner preview, this is the banner preview, this is the banner preview. These 3 courses do not have banners yet. It looks a lot better if you're looking at the tiles instead of the list if you have a banner. So Express will allow you to create custom sized images. And there is a best practice for size for banners in Blackboard. To create a custom image, you push this plus button. It turns into an X when you have it open, and you do a custom size graphic. It's going to default to pixels. The best way to think about pixels, or the way that I think about them to keep them straight, is 100 pixels is about an inch. It just helps me understand what I'm working in a little bit better. The best banner size is about 1250 by 240. And after you type in those values, you select next. And it's going to give us just a blank document. You'll see all the white space here. It's a little harder to see on my screen because there's not much contrast in between the gray and the white. You can use templates, but Express doesn't have a fabulous template for course banners because it's pretty niche. It's very specific to our need. You can actually use your own designs to create templates. So if you want to do multiple banners, we'll create this one and we'll show how to make your own template. But my formula for templates is pretty basic. I usually add a photograph. Like I said, most of my courses are business courses. So usually it's like a board meeting. I try really hard, if I'm representing people in my banner, to have representation of people that look different. Not everybody being the same age, the same race, the same gender presentation. I try to have diversity represented in my images. So a good way that I do that is I'll search for, let's see. Since we're using Adobe stock images, we can be pretty creative with our search terms. It takes a little while to kind of land on the image that you would want to use. So I searched for boardroom. Let's look through and very quickly pick the picture that we like. This one looks pretty nice to me. We have multiple genders, ages, and maybe multiple races. It's hard to tell, but there are both men and women present. There's people of different ages. A nice way that I like to go about using this, you'll select the image. It allows you to click and drag all over your design, but an easier way to prevent having to click and drag and make all of your adjustments is to select, you see this toggle right here where you can turn a switch that says add to background. Well, that man's not making a very pleasant face, is he? I don't think I want that as a course banner. He looks like he's growling at somebody. You add that to the background. You can then replace the image if you don't like it. Because honestly, I don't want students to be greeted by that face.
Plus he's pointing his finger.
Yeah, he looks angry. I put a lot of thought into the images that I use because I want to make sure the expressions are what I want somebody to feel when they come into the course. The gestures are appropriate. The interactions that people are having with one another are the image that I want them to have. This one feels a little bit happier. It feels a little bit more casual. They're not in suits. So I think we'll probably stick with this one. And we can arrange it however we want to. We can have people's midsections and the guy with his sneaker up on the desk, or we can have more people represented. I like the more people because to me that says that we're going to be interacting with each other a little bit more. So I'll leave that there. Next, you'll notice in this course that we have this color behind our text. That helps a lot with contrast. We do have to keep in mind that we have learners that might have some visual challenges. They might be colorblind. If we have text sitting directly on the image, it's going to be more difficult for somebody to read. So one of the, it's not a trick, but one of the tools that I use is I will add a rectangle. So to get here, I selected shapes and I'm searching rectangle. It allows me to add a basic shape. As soon as I click it, it shows up on the screen. It has automatic guidelines, which is really nice. It'll tell you when you're in the center. It'll tell you when you're not. If you select the image, it will also allow you to drag it to make it larger or smaller. And then you can edit it here. You'll see that we have a specific fill color. I don't want borders on because it's not going to look right the way that we want to use this. We can have shadows. It will allow us to flip it. If it's a picture, we could flip this one. We'll look at icons later. That becomes a little bit more useful there. But right here, it just kind of grays out one of my people with that hat. If you come over here, this is your transparency slider. You can see a little bit of the background image coming through. That helps us get the contrast that we need to make sure that people are going to be able to read what we're putting on. The other nice thing that I really like about this is there's the fill color. If you select that box, there's an eyedropper button. The eyedropper will let us come into the picture itself, mouse over different elements within the picture, and pull the color that we use for this accent box directly from the image itself, so we know it matches. I like this green. And as soon as we click it, it automatically changes the color. You can see that the color matches the picture, which is, it really has saved me a lot of time from having to hunt stuff down that looks like it coordinates. And next, we can add text. With adding text, you have to add it block by block if you want it to look differently. So say we have the title of the course, say we have the professor's name, and we want the professor's name to be in italics, a different size, maybe a different font. We have to add different text blocks for each of, or different text blocks for each of those elements. You can add it using these fun, cool things. It's a good way to get ideas for the text that you want to use. But since we're pretty, we have pretty specific needs for what text we want to use, I just like to add text directly. And let's see, we can do, let's call this BUS 100. Pretend like I'm teaching 100 this semester. That text is way too big. If you sought to edit the text, I didn't edit it directly here. I selected it and edited it in this window. The text is, let's see, is it black? No, this is kind of like a navy text. I want that to be black, just for contrast purposes. You can select the text by clicking and dragging. A neat tool is that you can also add, this is a hex code, which might be a little confusing, but if you want to, say you were doing EKU colors and you wanted to use EKU maroon, the visual identity guide that the university has published includes a numeric and text code that's called a hex code that will get you the exact maroon that you want if you want it to be EKU maroon. That's something that many of my professors want to do, and it's pretty easy. You would just type that number in here, but black is all zeros. So I like to kind of stick with black in most, not in everything, but in a lot of my courses. You'll see that this text is way too big. So to edit the size, it's just like an editor that you would use in Word. You then click and drag. It's best to have a little bit of breathing room in between the text and the box. It's easier for someone else to read. This might be a little bit small for our purposes, but if you click and drag this, the corner where it turns into a sideways arrow, that will adjust the size of the text with you adjusting the size of the box. So if I were to, let's do one other thing with the picture. So we have this background image. We can also add effects to those images. We can make it a black and white picture if we want to. They have a bunch of filters, just like if you were using a filter on, say, Facebook or Instagram. These are preloaded filters, which are nice. I kind of like that washed out look. You can change the contrast, the brightness. You can do almost, I won't say almost all of the photo editing that you can do in Photoshop, because Photoshop can do magic. You can do all the basic stuff that you want to using this tool. You can also have a blur option. Say you wanted it to, say there was a lot of people in the background and you wanted them to focus on something that was in the foreground. You could have two images, you could blur the back, you can change how blurry it is or is not. So let's turn blur off. Another thing that we can do here is we can add shapes if we want to. I don't really feel like it's appropriate for this image, but say we wanted it to be happy and there to be a sunshine over on the side. It adds this automatically. I can edit the color again so that it
That's
matches.
really nice.
It is really nice.
In Canva, I see a lot of the similarities between Canva and this, and there's so many things that are locked without
Yes.
the premium version. And it's so nice because I'll find a graphic, like say, for instance, the sunshine, and I'm like, oh, I'd really like it if it was the same color as that guy's hair.
Mhm.
And I can't go in and change it at all.
Yes, and one thing that I really like about the visual, the interaction or the interface with this tool is that right here are design assets. You can't always change the colors that are present in these because they may be solid images. Under shapes, you can edit the image as much as you can edit the color as much as you want. In Canva, I find it very difficult to sift through which ones are editable and which ones are not, just based on the way you search for different tools. So that really is one of my favorite things. Let's see, there is one other thing I wanted to talk about in here. So when I click on this sun, you'll see this stack of what looks like slides. This is how you access your layers. If you select it, it will accordion out, and you can tell it what you want it to do with these layers. Say you want 6 sunshines. After you select the sunshine layer, you duplicate. And now I've got 2 suns. Say I wanted to make like a shadow effect. I've got my sun that's scooted out a little bit. Let me come back here. The one that's in the background, and the layers show up in visual order. So in this document, this top sunshine is on the top. If I click and drag, that makes it go underneath the other one. So it's much more of a visual interface. This one behind it, if I edit my picture, or if I edit and make it just a little bit darker, I have a shadow. If I add things in an order that I'm not happy about, say my text winds up behind this, this rectangle that's got transparency on it, I can see what order it shows up in down here. So I can pull my text back up to the top and it will come to the front. With this, we are not able to click and drag because we added it to, with the background image, it's added to the background. If we take it out, then we can order it using that tool. Now, when we download this image, it can be downloaded as a PNG or a JPEG. Doesn't matter in this case. I usually download in with JPEGs. And then I can go into my handy dandy test course and show you how to actually upload that banner, because the place that you go to upload the banner doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Let's see.
Say again how you download it, because
Sure.
I guess I know I've done banners from logo, cool text, and if we go to custom banner, you said there's an alternative way to upload it onto Blackboard. Is that what you were saying?
No.
Oh,
So
same thing.
after you download it, there's multiple ways to upload it. If you want to access it from the course menu, you go to customization and teaching style, which is an interesting place to put it. I don't know that I would have put it there if I was in charge of the design, but that plus $5 will buy me that opinion, plus $5 gets me coffee, you know. So we'll hop over here to my downloads. There's my image. We always add alt text. And submit. And then there it is under my announcements. It's pretty, I like it. There's more than one way to build a banner. Some faculty will choose to put their text that pertains to the course in the center of the banner so that it shows up on the course tile when the tile is opened, or when students are looking at their options in the course tiles. The reason I put my course name and all of the text details about the course all the way to the left is because of the way the course will show up if you have access or if you have it opened in mobile. So if we go back to developer tools, you'll see that when it cuts a piece of the banner off, it cuts stuff off on the right. So if someone is looking at this, let's see, in a Pixel 5, and the text was centered, it would cut off the centered text. So it's kind of a toss up between prioritizing the course tile or prioritizing the visual presentation of the course when a student actually logs in. I personally choose to prioritize what it looks like when they log in, because under the course tiles, they always have the course title listed directly underneath. They don't always have that if they're accessing the course in mobile. So that is a personal choice. Do with it what you will. If you put it in the center, it's in the center. I like to left justify all my stuff. The other, oh, Cassie?
Where on the tiles, where does it usually focus on those banners?
Right in the center.
Right in the center. Okay.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
So with this course,
I see. Okay.
we created it so that the title went along the bottom. That was the instructor's preference. And all of that information is centered. So if it's centered, it'll show up in the course tile. But underneath the course, as part of the course tile itself, we have the image. We also have the text of the course title too, which is why I usually choose to left justify my text. The other thing I wanted to show you really quick, because we're running low on time, is how to create the little icons that we saw in the course that I first pulled up, the ones that showed numbers so that students knew which module they were looking at, and the different kinds of assignment types or the task types that we wanted students to complete. These are a little bit smaller. Again, you would create a custom sized graphic. When I'm creating course icons, which is what I call them, I usually do 100 pixels by 100 pixels or 150 by 150. 100 by 100 is pretty small. It shows up better on mobile, and I always try to keep mobile in mind. So for this sample, we'll do 100 by 100, which is about an inch. So it's pretty small. You'll see here that we just have this pretty blank square, and where I pull all of my icons from is shapes. In Canva, I've tried to do this, and it's really hard to find ones that are related to one another. So you can find like a cartoon guy if you want someone to be welcoming to someone else to the course, but you might not be able to find icons that visually match the style that was done in. It is much easier to do that using this tool. So let's say we wanted to do a checklist. This is something that I usually make for every single one of my courses. There are so many checklists that are available. There are solid background, no background, rounded edges, thick borders. They are beautiful, and they make my life so much easier. I select it and it shows up on the page. I try and make them fit the entire square that I have because of the way that we'll save them and the way that they'll show in the Blackboard course. I center them, and we can make that color match the course banner that we created earlier. if we reopen or if we open our projects, sometimes this tool gets funky about letting me have multiple things or multiple. There, oh, that's right. I didn't put our banner in a folder. That's what I get for not organizing myself. Okay, so we're back to seeing the banner because I want our colors to match. To find out what color we're using here, I'll select this. You'll see this # 08773F. I will copy that in my other window that I have open with our checklist. I will change the color of my shape after selecting it. I will paste the color code and then voila, everything matches, which is one of my favorites. Let's see. Okay, so that's done. Title, sample icon. When we download this icon, it does matter if we have a JPEG or a PNG. A PNG will allow this white space to be clear. So if I save this as a PNG and it goes over something with a color background, all the white space here, unless I have like a white square behind it, will be the color background. So it makes the background clear. I save my icons as PNGs, transparent PNGs. And then when I'm uploading my icons into my sample course, documents, edit mode back on, load content item, table. Okay, there's a reason I built a table here. If I want everything to be in line with my text or to be right next to my text, I will paste my icon here, or I will insert my icon here. And there may be a better way to do this, but I haven't found it yet. So I'll upload my icon here. I will edit my table. I will highlight my entire table, and then under the table editing options, I'll go to table properties, advanced, border style, no border, cell properties, advanced, border style, no border. And then when a student looks at it, here's my text right here. I think there's a better way to do this, if I'm quite honest. It's possible that if we just add the image directly, that we would be able to you should be able to edit the text so that it stays in line. The table is not necessary in all cases.
Can you click the listing button and then have that, but your icon's small, so that would be the point you wanted. Okay, gotcha.
My icon is pretty small, and you can make it smaller than what I did. The thing is, if you make it into a list right here, then it adds your icon to the list. Having a table set up, if I have a task list right next to it, is why I do the table, so that I can have my bulleted or numbered list next to it, and it doesn't change the icon. My other favorite thing to do with this tool, so we created the icon, we created the banner, we looked at websites, we've organized ourselves, we're pretty familiar with the interface. If you go back to the image that you created for your icon, say you want to make a whole suite of icons for your course that are all the same color, that are all the same size, you can make your image a template. It takes a little while. If I push the button now, it'll take about 10 minutes and we don't have that much time. But if you make it a template, when you come over here to your plus sign to create a new project, you can create a new project based on your templates. So you can have that same size, you can have the color saved. You can also make a template out of your course banner that you created, so that if you have to make a banner for a future course, all you do is you go in, you change the image, you change the text, you change the color, and you don't have to go through remembering the size that you wanted it to be. You don't have to go through remembering your perfect layout if you liked your layout. So that's also one of my, it saves me a lot of time when I'm creating items to drop into a course. You all may not be producing content at that kind of clip, but I like it because it keeps me from having to remember stuff off the top of my head. Anything that I can automate, I'm going to automate because it reduces the instance of human error. So if you would like, I can add both of you to the sample banner that we made so that you can make a copy of it for yourselves. And feel free, do you have any other questions? We're at noon, so I'll let you go if you're ready to, but if you have questions or anything else that you want me to show you or do, I'm glad to do that.
I want to thank you, Carla. This has been invaluable. I've often called myself a digital dinosaur, and I'm always impressed that I can learn a new trick.
I think this is very user friendly too, and I like the Adobe products. I use Photoshop quite a bit. Barely not as good with Illustrator, but I like the features that I'm able to use in Photoshop, and it looks like this is a little bit more detailed than what I can do in Canva. And I use that quite a bit. So I'll definitely be playing with this.
Great. Well, I'm glad that you found it useful. Y'all can feel free if you have questions after this to shoot me an email. We did record this meeting, so we should be sharing the recording after the fact too, so that you'll be able to kind of follow along and go through step by step. But thank you all so much for your time. It was a pleasure to get to talk with you and to explore this tool. Like I said, I love this one. I use it a lot, so I'm always glad to share a tool that has made my life easier, especially because I know that it ultimately enhances the student experience. So thank you all for your time so much.
All right. Thank you. I
Bye.
appreciate it.
Y'all have a great day.
You too.